Welcome everyone to the Partners in Pain webinar series. My name is Kelly Kislick. I'm a pharmacist here in the province. I work in Saskatoon at the Mac IOPS Clinic. It's a chronic pain clinic here in Saskatoon. And I'm also a member of Sask Pain. I'll tell you a little bit more about that organization in a bit. And it is absolutely my honor and pleasure to be with you this evening as we embark on it's not our inaugural Partners in Pain, but our second start to this session, to this webinar series. So I'm really excited that you're all here with us today and looking forward to an excellent session today and then many more wonderful sessions in the weeks ahead of us. So before we get started, I did want to start with a land acknowledgement. And as we gather today, it's important that we acknowledge that we are on treaty land. So I'm coming to you from Treaty 6. So Treaty 6 is the traditional territory of the Cree, Saulteaux, Stoney, Nakota, and Dakota people. We also acknowledge the traditional homeland of the Métis and honor their contributions as well. This land acknowledgement reaffirms our commitment to repairing relationships between settlers like me and the First Nations people who originally walked this land. For me personally, the land acknowledgement reminds me of the importance of reflecting on what is past, recognizing where we're at right now in the present, and really working towards the future. So it's important for me to acknowledge the harms and injustices of the past and present, and I'm committed to working together in a spirit of reconciliation and collaboration. Like I said, before we get started, I wanted to give you just a bit of information about how this great event came to be. So the Partners in Pain workshop series grew out of the Improving Pain in Saskatchewan collaborative research project. This project's aims were and are to give pain a voice by bringing people together to share information and then to plan some action to improve how pain is managed in this province. So this research project led to our original pilot series, which we launched in March 2021. The feedback from that pilot was very positive, and it led the research team to seek additional funding opportunities. The project received a Community Initiatives Fund community grant in mid-2021, and that's what brings us here today. So the vision of that fund is to enhance the quality of life for all Saskatchewan people. All of this work is supported by the Sask Pain organization, which is on a mission to help improve the lives of those living with pain in Saskatchewan. So I just wanted to take a minute to acknowledge the research team at Improving Pain in Saskatchewan, the Community Initiatives Fund, and then also Sask Pain. This webinar is truly a testament to what happens when people with a common vision come together and make really good things happen. So if you'd like more information, you can check out the Sask Pain website at saskpain.ca. Speaking of amazing folks, I also want to acknowledge our sponsor for this evening, and you might have noticed their logo pop up on some of the welcoming slides before we started. So Creekside Acres from Springside, Saskatchewan. Anyone in the Yorkton and surrounding area looking for home building services should definitely check out Creekside Acres. I personally am planning on winning the Lotto Max this weekend, so I will be checking out Creekside Acres to build my dream cabin. And a big thank you to Creekside Acres for your support. So with that, I think we're ready to get started. And I am going to introduce to you our first speaker of the evening, and it is Dr. Susan Tupper. Susan is a physical therapist with a PhD in community health and epidemiology. She works for the Saskatchewan Health Authority as the strategy consultant for pain quality improvement. Susan is married with 3 adult children and an unruly sheep-a-doodle puppy named Dooley, who I'm hoping he would make an appearance tonight. Susan, I'm going to pass the baton to you for your presentation.
Thanks for the introduction, for the fantastic facilitation that you always do, Kelly. I appreciate that. So I've been asked to speak for the first little bit about chronic pain. So just kind of a basic overview of how pain works, what we can do about it, and some strategies that people might be able to incorporate to manage chronic pain. So that's what I'm going to be focusing on. And so I love talking to people about pain. I know that's kind of a weird thing to admit, but I find it fascinating. I love hearing about people's perceptions or conceptualization of what pain is and how it works. And so I often ask people to share with me their thoughts about what causes pain. And without fail, people will talk about diseases or injuries, problems with their body tissues. So for example, arthritis, if somebody has arthritis, or even if I talk to a room full of rheumatologists and ask them what causes pain with arthritis, they usually talk about inflammation in the joints, cartilage degeneration, that bone on bone wearing down with osteoarthritis, or they'll talk about bone spurs, those osteophytes, and the changes in the density of the bone around the joint that happens with arthritis. Or they'll talk about the lining of the joint, the synovium, and how it thickens with chronic arthritis and how that can cause pain. And so we often think about injuries or diseases and the changes in our body tissues as being the thing that causes pain, and that the worse our pain is, it must be because our disease or our injury is worse. And that can contribute to a lot of fear, but it can also contribute to people, the way people seek treatment, that they try and find the body part that's the problem. And so I wanted to talk about that a little bit, and maybe challenge some of that as a misconception about pain. So I'm going to share about a research study that I did about a decade ago, and this was with young people with arthritis. And so I recruited a number of kids with juvenile idiopathic arthritis, and I gave them each a little iPod Touch. We developed an app called Pingo, Pain Information on the Go, and had kids fill in questions about their pain, the treatments that they were using, either medications or non-drug treatments, their mood. We measured their physical activity, and they measured their pain and other questions every 2 hours for 4 days during their waking hours. I didn't wake up at night, of course, but we graphed out the pain, and here's 4 examples of graphs here on the screen here. So what we found is that variability in the pain, these big fluctuations in the pain, was normal for the large majority of kids. And so there were some people that had fewer fluctuations in their pain, but the most often people had these quite significant changes in their pain from one time point, and then 2 hours later it would change quite significantly. So if you think about the cause of pain or what's contributing to the pain, and if you think of it only being related to body tissue problems, well, look at that graph in the top left. There's no way that this child's arthritis is disappearing at 10 o'clock in the morning and reappearing at noon and then disappearing again and reappearing. And that just doesn't happen with our body tissue diseases like arthritis or our injuries. They persist and they can heal over time and they can recover. But our pain experience is quite independent of our body tissue problems. So the question that raises, and maybe the really exciting piece of this research, if I do say so myself, is that, you know, it's not a question of why a child with arthritis is feeling pain, but why aren't they feeling pain severely all the time? And how can we harness whatever is happening at those times of low pain? How can we harness that and do more of that and make sure that that's what's happening for that child, and minimize whatever's happening during those times when their pain is really flaring up quite high? And so that's what I think is really exciting, that it's not just about healing the arthritis or doing the treatment that gets rid of the inflammation or making sure those joints are in good shape. That's absolutely part of it, but there's a lot more to the pain experience than just the body tissue problems with the inflammation with the arthritis. So I'm going to talk a little bit about why that works. So pain is not just about the biological or the body tissue issues like inflammation, but it's also produced because of and influenced by psychological factors like our mood and our attention, and also social and environmental factors as well. So the biological, psychological, social, and environmental, or biopsychosocial, if you want to shorten it down, those factors all work together to influence pain, and these are also influenced by pain. So someone's mood is definitely affected by pain for sure. So let me explain how that works a little bit. So we have throughout our body a network of nerves, and here on the right of this slide is an image of without the rest of the body, and the way it's the brain, the spinal cord, and the nerves running out to the tissues, and down this low it would be going to the person's foot. So we have this network of nerves, and if you want to throw around a fancy word at a dinner party, these nerves are called nociceptors, and nociception is what they do. So what they do is they detect threat or damage to body tissues. So absolutely, the more inflammation we have, the more body tissue damage we have, the more these nociceptors are firing. But that is not pain. That's just nociception. That's just the body's way of detecting, or the central nervous system's way of detecting when there's threat to the body tissues. Important information, but absolutely not the only important information when it comes to producing pain. So that information, those nociceptors, are danger signals. So they go to the spinal cord. At the level of the spinal cord, those nerves interact with dozens of other nerves. In fact, at that, where they enter the spinal cord, the nerves that go in account for about 1% of the nerves in that area. The other 99% of nerves in that area are all these little interconnecting nerves that either increase the amount of signaling that goes up the spinal cord, or they decrease it and dampen it down to the point where those nerves at the level of the spinal cord can completely shut off the nociception, or those signaling around danger that goes up to the brain. So, and that's how a lot of our medications work, is they affect how these nerves talk to one another, or how sensitive the nerves are to firing. So, so this happens, this kind of modulation or change in the signaling that happens at the spinal cord also happens at the brainstem and the higher centers of the brain. And there's about 20 different areas of the brain that are responsible for working together and communicating with one another to produce the experience of pain. But in the meantime, these nerves, or the brain, the spinal cord, are not just kind of sitting there waiting for something, some body tissue thing to happen. In the meantime, the brain is also communicating with the spinal cord to work kind of like an amplifier on an electric guitar. So either the brain will tell the spinal cord, crank it up, we want more of that information. I'm feeling kind of threatened. I want to make sure that I don't miss anything that's potentially dangerous. And so it cranks up. And you know how when you crank up an amplifier on an electric guitar, you get that screechy reverberating noise? That's kind of what's happening in chronic pain. But the brain can also communicate back down to the spinal cord to turn down the volume. And so this changing experience, that's what happens with chronic pain, is it's not just about the danger signals that are coming in. The central nervous system, the spinal cord and the brain, they change both in their patterns of firing, how the nerves communicate with one another, but also the structure, the numbers and types of nerves in the spinal cord, and the ways, the patterns of activity in the brain change. And these changes, these longer term changes that affect the sensitivity of the nervous system, we call plasticity. And plasticity is something that can be good or it can be bad. An example of bad plasticity is chronic pain. So the nervous system becomes more sensitive, it fires more readily. Good plasticity can also happen as we do the things that help to settle down the nervous system. We can change it so it becomes less prone to firing, so less sensitive. So there's a little bit of recycling that goes on when we're working with chronic pain. Not that you can throw out your nervous system and get a new one. You have to work with the materials that you have and remake them and remodel them, use that plastic and turn it into something slightly different. So how we do that is we work on resilience factors. We increase those factors that make our nervous system more resilient, and we reduce the factors that are the risk factors that make our nervous system more sensitive. So as we reduce our stress, improve our activity levels, or reduce our sedentariness, or sitting around for long periods of time, as we improve our nutrition, our food choices, other potential things that might affect the nervous system sensitivity, as we change some of our behavior patterns, we can become less sensitive, and we can build on those resilience factors through treatments like active coping. So physical activity can have a huge impact on chronic pain. Not that it's easy, but it can improve the sensitivity of the nervous system to make it less sensitive. Cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, pacing, social engagement, leisure activities like art therapy. Dayna's going to be sharing about that shortly. And things like restful sleep. Those are huge resilience factors that can make the nervous system less sensitive over time, so that you can still face triggers like a bad day. You can have a stressful day, but you've got a nervous system that's much more resilient and less sensitive. So over the next series of webinars with Partners in Pain, we're going to be talking about the 4 Ps of pain management. We're going to have people speak on prevention factors. We have somebody coming to speak about sleep and how to improve sleep and how sleep impacts chronic pain. We have somebody else in December speaking about nutrition, and she's going to kind of share some advice for healthy cooking and how that might impact pain. We're going to be talking about psychological factors like mindfulness. Other people will talk about meditative journaling. And Dayna, as I mentioned, is going to be talking about art therapy today. We'll have people talking about exercise and other manual therapies like massage and chiropractic treatments. And other physical strategies are things like heat and cold and electrical stimulation devices. So there's all sorts of different strategies within each of these 4 Ps. And of course, we'll have our wonderful pharmacists talking about different medications and safety around medications related to pain management. So we've got a whole series of lectures coming up and sessions coming up. And with each one, we have a personal story with someone living with pain. And we have a facilitated activity so people can see what we're talking about. When we talk about art therapy, you'll get to experience that today. So we're really excited to share this information with you and hope you get some good value out of it. And thanks to Kelly for doing the shout out to SAS Pain. And I have the information here, and we can share this information with you as well. So our website, saspain.ca, and there's our email. And of course, please follow us on our social media accounts of Twitter and Facebook. And we love to hear from people too, if you want to send us an email. So that's it. And so hopefully Dayna has been able to join us. And I just chose a little graphic there to show art therapy coming up next. And thank you again for the opportunity to speak this evening.
Thank you, Susan. I have many words to use now, not just nociceptors, lots of things to throw out at social gatherings and parties. So thank you for sharing that. Now, we did have an opportunity to ask some questions of Susan right now. We have a few minutes that we can use before we start with Dayna's story and the art therapy. So Susan, maybe I'll just ask you a couple of questions too, if that's okay. First of all, I just was wondering if you could talk a little bit about, we hear a lot in the pain world about acute pain and chronic pain, and I know you touched on it a little bit, but what can people kind of expect for timelines, or at what point do we kind of tip over into that chronic pain? When does the conversation change?
That's an awesome question. So the official definition of what constitutes chronic pain is not a really good one. It's based on time and how long it's lasted. So somebody has chronic pain, they're defined as having chronic pain if they have pain on the majority of days, usually 4 or more days a week, and that pain has lasted for at least 3 months. So that's the official definition. And loosely, that's based on stages of tissue healing, thinking that if you have an injury, the majority of tissues will heal within 3 months, although we know that's not true, right? And then there's things like arthritis that are chronic diseases that would contribute to pain long term. So it's not a great definition. Another way of defining it is pain that lasts longer than expected. Well, again, how do you define that, right? So interestingly, when I talked about the sensitivity of the nervous system, we know that there are characteristics that predict whether or not someone is more likely to live with or experience chronic pain in their lifetime. Partly it's genetic, partly it's the things that they've been exposed to over their lifetime, stress being a huge one. And so with these different factors that influence the sensitivity of the nervous system, even if someone doesn't live with chronic pain, but they have a surgery or they have a car accident, based on their characteristics, we can predict whether or not they're going to transition to chronic pain. So people can influence their likelihood of getting chronic pain before they even get it. And so this is a new area of research that really there hasn't been a lot of research on this. But by building those wellness factors, those resilience factors, you can reduce your likelihood, even like the minute you have an injury or the car accident or before you go for surgery, you can do those things that reduce the likelihood that you're going to have chronic pain and that it will transition from an acute to a chronic pain condition for you. But yeah, so that's it's a new area of research, but a really exciting one. So again, this is why pain is just so fascinating.
Oh, it is. And, that word resilience has come up, even in our original pilot series, right? So it's interesting to me that it's, for folks living with chronic pain, it's an important part of the management. There's something to be said for a proactive approach to chronic pain management and using resilience. That's really fascinating.
I see there was a question as to whether or not you can have a copy. Yeah, for sure. I see Celine has said that my slides will be sent out. Yeah, absolutely. And those list of resilience and risk factors are just examples. That's not an exhaustive list by any stretch of the imagination.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the things that folks can expect following our webinars is that we'll send out an email with slides and information that might have been shared during the session so that you have that physical takeaway from our sessions tonight, so you can expect that as well. Okay. Oh, I could probably chat with you for the rest of the time, Susan, but I do want to move on to Dayna because I'm really excited about what's to come here too. So thank you, Susan. Like I said, if anyone else comes up with some questions, hopefully we'll have some time at the end. Okay, let's move on to our next speaker. So this is, I'm pleased to welcome Dayna Fescuic to our series tonight. So Dayna is a 48-year-old artist, writer, and photographer who has been using art therapy as a way to cope with bipolar disorder since her diagnosis as a teenager. In the last 10 years, art therapy has also helped Dayna to manage her chronic pain from CRPS, which is complex regional pain syndrome, fibromyalgia, migraines, lipedema, and a whole host of other issues. Dayna says art therapy has made a measurable difference in her pain and has been a game changer with helping her get back to living her life enjoyably and passionately. Dayna works with acrylics, metallic acrylics, oil pastels, colored pencils, soapstone and balsa wood, clay, crochet, multimedia, art journaling, and graphic design. So a really diverse set of tools and skills that she uses in her art therapy, which I'm really looking forward to hearing about. So Dayna's here with us tonight, and there will be an opportunity to chat with Dayna. We do have a recording of her personal story with pain and then the art therapy session. So we're going to review that recording, and then we will have an opportunity for question and answer with Dayna following that.
Hey guys, my name is Dayna. I just finished filming for your art therapy session, and I just wanted to make sure that I did talk a little bit about my pain journey for you guys to understand how much art therapy does make a difference for me. So I was diagnosed in 2011 with complex regional pain syndrome, reflex sympathetic dystrophy. So the acronym is CRPS, and basically it means that my nervous system is a complete hot mess. I have pain signals 24/7. I have my entire body swells massively, like from a 2x to a 5x and back down again to a 2x within days of that time frame. Like it's all over the map, and like I said, 24/7 pain. And also then separate from that, I have lipedema in my legs, which also does not help with the swelling, as well as I have fibromyalgia, I have manic depression, bipolar disorder, I have asthma, I have migraines, there's a litany of things that are wrong with my body and like that. So that being the case, art therapy started for me back when I was diagnosed with manic depression and bipolar disorder, which is back in my early teens. And I am 48 years old now. So I'm sharing that specifically so that you know that art therapy has been with me a long, long time. It's changed my life dramatically. It's made a massive, literally a massive difference for me in coping mechanisms for all of my pain, even my migraines. It can take me away from that place of logjam and my eyes just being really rough. I can sit and with light music playing in the background, low lights, and just literally just even smush and paint around on a page. That feeling, that experience, it totally takes me away from the level of pain that I'm in that given moment. So I wanted to make sure that I spent a couple of minutes talking about this, because I think people think that if you're in that level of pain, exquisite pain, that you have to stay in that level of exquisite pain, that you can't do anything. And that's BS. It's just flat out BS. Art therapy, art journaling, animal therapy, Reiki. There are so many things that make a difference for a person that is in pain, and hopefully we can bring that all to you through Partners in Pain and help you get to a point of relief and some time away from that pain. So hopefully bringing you a little bit more of an enjoyable lifestyle and enjoyable life in general. So yeah, thanks for being with me, and I'm glad I could share this with you. Take care. Bye. Hi guys, my name is Dayna. I am here to be able to help take you through art therapy. And so what I want to start with actually is art therapy, how it helps and how it works. I'm going to read to you off of a sheet that I've got here, and I'm just going to go bullet by bullet. So when someone has chronic pain, their mind gets wrapped up in the pain, and there's no longer a sense of ease. If they happen to drop something and they try to just reach to pick it up, it doesn't work that way anymore. Their brain is firing as you're in pain. You have to watch every movement. You have to watch how you bend, etc. When you're doing art therapy, you engage your mind on a different plane altogether that is a state of play. Your mind is engaged in a very simple task. It's bringing your mind and your nervous system back online, quote unquote, online, to a simpler time. Okay, sitting with your pain is hugely important, and it's very helpful to help you understand it and work through your pain. It is, however, one way of doing it. The other way to do it is to be able to engage your mind, your senses, and your thought patterns to a feeling of lightness and playfulness, which puts your mind in a state of flow, which allows you to get above and beyond your pain. Think of it as like cheat notes, basically, to bypass the pain you feel and your mind, which in turn helps rewire the brain. Similar to this importance is that of human connection. When you are in chronic pain, you may not have that connectiveness on a very human level anymore. You might feel kind of separated or isolated from the rest. So if you enter a state of joy and playfulness, the emotional feeling of happiness, the content, the ease of that is your corrective measure to get back engaged, involved, and enjoying life. Because of this, art therapy with people as like an actual group activity is also extremely beneficial. If you live from a state of joy and playfulness, your body and your nervous system does correct itself. The emotional feeling of happiness and content and ease are the corrective measures to get back engaged and enjoying your life. So this is what we're going to do with art therapy. I'm going to take you through another sheet. The next one is talking about your pain helpers. So art therapy pain helpers, what I mean by that is soft clothing is really important so you can move freely. A good chair. This chair that I'm sitting on is a 17-year-old office chair. It hugs my body. It is one with me. It is a great chair. Or a bed, or any place that is comfortable for you to sit. Lighting that is not too harsh to hurt your eyes. But as you can see in my studio, I have a lot of light here. This is just from the windows, but I also have 1, 2, 3, 4 different lamps on as well that help me keep the light soft for my eyes, but allow me to still see properly for what I'm doing. Covered work surface. I don't cover my work surface because I don't care if I get messy. It's a mess work table for a reason, but you might want to cover your work table. You also might want to adjust for temperature. So I've got the window open, but I have the heat on. It's kind of that balance that I'm looking for to be able to keep me comfortable so that I'm not distracted from the art therapy, which is the whole point, so you can enjoy it. You also might want to work with something that is, like I said, an old table, but you can work with a tabletop easel or anything like that. Those you can get super cheap at the Dollarama. And also you can play music if you want, or just have, the house settling, those noises as your background noise, or just quiet as you do it. Doesn't matter. Whatever you choose works best for you. That's what your go-to is. The next thing that you want is a timer. You can have it on your phone or just an egg timer, whatever, just so that you can have it go off periodically to remind you that you need to make sit-stand breaks and position changes. Otherwise, you could lock your body up into an uncomfortable position because your mind, again, is at play and it's not really paying attention. That's the whole point. You take your mind away from the pain. But if you don't have those timers set, you can cause yourself an issue. So you got the balance again. And then the last thing you want is clearly marked beverages. This is really, really important. So this one I've got as a G2. It's not a G2 bottle, but it's a Gatorade bottle with water in it. This I drink out of. And why that's important is because I have a Diet Coke bottle here sitting here with water in it. This is my art water. And it matters the most when you have something that is like sitting out like this because I have a container for water as well that is just like really awful looking. But if I don't have this separated, I can end up doing something like I did one day, which is I reached for iced tea that I had in here, and I unfortunately grabbed and drank my paint water. So you want to make sure that it's very, very clearly marked. That's all I got for now. I've got a list of art supplies that you need for today, and I'm just going to put that up on the screen. Thanks. We'll get started right away. Okay guys, we're back. This is your art supply list. I'm going to take you through it. So there's the list. I'm just going to read them off and show you as I go. Here's your piece of cardboard that you're going to need. It doesn't matter what size technically, but I asked you guys to get about 8.5 by 11 or a little bit larger, or a thick piece of paper. There's your paint water that you'll need. I pointed that out earlier. There is your 3 craft paints and your thin paintbrush, your skinny tipped paintbrush, your glue stick, scissors, tape. Oh, I got a snack on there, and hydration. Thick markers. And here next to me, I've got my whole stand of markers and other goodies of pencil crayons and more paint, and I've got all the supplies that I need basically right at hand. The only thing that is missing from here is an apron or old clothes, but that would be for you guys to pick up for yourself. I do have paper towels here right next to me though for messes, and yeah, that's all your supplies right there. Okay, I'm gonna get started. Hold on. Hey guys, okay, so we're doing the background. So I've basically just taken this cardboard that I showed you earlier, and I'm just putting some drops of paint. So that first one was tangerine. Now I'm gonna put some lime tree, and all I'm doing is just literally squeezing little dots of paint everywhere on this piece of cardboard, okay? Super easy, super simple. Okay, next up, I'm going to put, that was lime tree, this is French blue. And these are the 3 colors that I chose for the background today, for my background today. And just randomly, just drop them everywhere. It doesn't really matter. There's no rhyme or reason. And if you get paint everywhere on you, that's the point. Have some fun with it. So how we're going to do this background is super simple. We are going to take a piece of cardboard, okay, and we are going to run it down over the paint drop. So you'll see what happens there. It gets quite textured. Now you'll see obviously it's not covered the whole page, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to simply turn this so that you can still see everything on camera there, and I'm going to run this the opposite way now. That's going to give a bit more texture. It's going to get that paint dragged around on it. Okay, now your next step is, because that didn't cover everything, but you might want to, you know, just a little bit more punch of color, you can choose one of those same colors to go back with. Choose a corner to put it on. So I'm going to put it on this corner, just drop a chunk on there. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take just a random paper towel, and you're going to pick some of the paint up and just get it in the areas that you didn't get paint on before. So basically your end result there, what you're looking for is getting added punches of maybe your favorite of the 3 colors. And it's just going to cover the rest of your canvas, which today is the cardboard. Okay, so super easy, super simple, not a difficult task or hard to do in any way. But the nice thing about it is you're getting right in there, like with your hands and like that, which is part of the fun. That's getting to that level of playfulness that you kind of want to engage your mind on. So you can see it's not still covering the whole area, and I kind of want that because I want to go in with one more color. I think maybe the hint or the added pop of green. So this was a cardboard that was to do with pop cans. It was a pop can flat. So now that I've got more orange on there, I think I'd like to add some more green, but I want it done in a particular way. So I'm going to take it right on my fingertips, just like that. And I'm literally going to go in on the rounds, almost making them look like bubbles, okay? There is no wrong way to do this. There's no right way to do this. There's just flat out fun. Get in there, get your hands dirty. Playfulness is the key. You're going to run it over whatever area you want to see that added punch of color, okay? This is just the areas that you're going to feel that you want a little bit more dabs in there. Okay, so the nice thing about art therapy is because it is so forgiving, there is nothing to fear. If this doesn't work to your mind when you're done and you're looking at it and you're thinking, yeesh, or gosh, that's really not what I wanted, then you know what? It's pretty simple. Paint over it. It's not rocket science, and it doesn't need to be. It's super easy for a reason. And it's, like I said, the fun factor. When was the last time you played with paint on your hands? I mean, come on. So let's just get this. I'm going right to the edges, kind of. And yet, it doesn't really matter if I get all the way there, because the end result is it's cardboard. If I don't like my edges, I can cut it down, and I can make it whatever, you know, size I want, or if I want to actually get it to be really straight, fine edges rather than just torn corrugated cardboard, then I can actually cut it down enough that I can make it fit into a frame. So that could be the end result of your artwork. You can see also my artwork right now. This particular one is bowed. It's kind of bent up a little bit. That's okay. We're going to flatten that out later. Doesn't matter. It's very forgiving. Okay, so for the most part, I've got this background covered now with the colors that I wanted, and I'm going to move on to the character. So what you need to do for that is just simply make sure that the area is dry. So I'm going to put the camera on hold for a minute. I'll come back as soon as it's dry. Okay guys, so the background was done and it looked like kind of like that graffiti look. So now I'm dropping in the images that I want. Now in the supplies, I asked you guys to get some cutouts if you wanted. If you don't feel comfortable drawing or doing anything of that nature, that's fine. Just you can put a heart or a silhouette or an animal, just glue it right down. That's why I had in the supply list for you to have your glue stick on hand and your paintbrush, your thin paintbrush, because this will do the wording later on. Instead, for me, I'm using a Posca paint marker or several Posca paint markers, okay? So I'm just going to continue for a minute and then I'll stop again and start again once I've got a little bit more on, but I'll show you my process. So after the background color was totally dry, I sketched a little owl here, and I've drawn two, and I'm continuing to draw a third balloon. Okay, so up top here, I'm just doing these balloons for a reason. They're going to be what I drop my actual words into when I get there. Okay, so we're just finishing up that balloon there. And now once I've done that, this one is a green one, a orange one in the center, and a purple one here. So now, before I do the detail on the owl, I want to drop this color in. So I'm going to show you how quick and easy that is. You're going to take a different color than you used in the beginning, which was the first three that you used on your background. You're now going to take a different color, and you're just going to literally use your hands and spread the paint on with that, rather than a paintbrush. Okay, I'm literally just smushing it on. And yes, that will be our technical term today, is smushing. So look how easy this is, and yet playful and fun. You're just going to literally fill the balloon with the color. We'll go back and do like a line around it later to really punch it up. But right now, I just want you to get that color in, and I want you to use your fingers. Get that sense of play and that sense of fun going. See, and it actually covers really quite easily and nicely. If you want it to be even brighter or a little bit like more coverage yet, then you just go over to second coat, okay? So there's my green in there. Now, I want you to see this. I'm actually gonna, normally I take this and I would wipe it on a cloth or something, but me in my studio, that's what you might do. For me in my studio, I usually just wipe it on my top, okay, but that's me. So now next is the orange. And for the orange, I'm going to use the same tangerine that I used before for the background. And I'm just going to, again, the exact same thing. But you'll just want to make sure that when you do this time, you use either a different finger or a cleaned up one. Now that paint, believe it or not, is off my finger. It's not going to mix with my orange. Okay, so I'm just going to, again, dab on, get it on there, and then just smush it around and get that orange really popping on there. Okay. I'm going to edge this again. I'm going to put some right there. Get it on there and just smush it in. Get it nice and bright. That's going to be my balloon color. Okay, look at that. Nice and bright and fun. Again, just let that sense of play come out. That's the whole point. Forget about everything else in the world. It doesn't have to be overthought. It doesn't have to be difficult. You know you can do these things. You can do easy things, you can do hard things, you can get through it all. You just gotta remember that you have the ability to do it. Okay, one more balloon and then I'm going to pause and come back to you when I fill in more. The last balloon is a purple one. So grabbing a purple color, light purple, and I'm just gonna, again, the same thing, just going to literally pour it in the center and smush it around. There we go. It's a nice color. Smush. These two are metallic ones, so they're going to have a little bit more shimmer to them in the end. Okay, so I'm just going to get that balloon filled in just like that. Just beautiful color. Gorgeous color. And again, just that sense of play and lightness. Okay, there we go. So now I'm going to go off camera for half a second, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you my little owl. I'm going to put the detail on off camera, and then you'll see him pop when I come back. Hold on. Hey guys, so just a quick little touch base. I am just dropping in the color on the owl, and then I will show you the detail. I'm going to do the majority of this coloring off camera, but I wanted you to see what I was doing. So literally, I'm just coloring. That's all that I'm doing. Just like you would a child at play, that's all I'm doing. Just getting a sense of that playfulness again, and the enjoyment of just being able to, on a rainy, gray day, just take my mind where I want it to be, which is on nice, easy movements, easy, simple tasks, and enjoying the time that I'm in my studio. So yeah, I will come back to you and show you the owl in just a moment. Okay guys, now the next thing that I want to do, I dropped in the color, and you can see my little owls now totally come to life. I also brought the big black gun out, the big black marker gun out. Now this guy is fabulous. Any black marker will do, really, any thick tip, because look at what it does. It just brings the little character right to life. So we're going to continue that by just basically, it's a basic outline, and all you're going to do is literally trace around your balloons, just as I traced around the owl. That's all you're going to do, and it's going to bring them completely to life. Pop them completely forward in your picture. Okay, so again, super simple and easy to do. Supplies on hand. Almost everybody has some form of marker kicking around, whether it's for kids or for your own purposes, for your businesses or what have you, or even just for nothing more than just, you know, I don't know if you do large print jigsaw or crosswords or something. Maybe you use, I don't know what you use for it, but usually markers are on hand. So, and also obviously cardboard is on hand, which is why I asked you to use that today for your project. So I'm going to keep outlining these, and once I'm done, then I'm going to come back and we're going to drop in the words that I want to use today. Okay, be right back. Hey guys, I'm back. Okay, now this is what I want to show you. This is so important. We did the coloring of the balloons and we did the outlining, which I said makes the whole thing pop, and it does. But now what you are seeing is, here I went back, and something as simple as this, tying the balloons to him in different ways, off his head here and off his hand, and having his little eyes point up, looking at the balloons. It just gives that overall sense of fun again, and that's part of the whole thing. But also part of it is these words, and these words are really, really important, because I think most times we get so caught up in our pain and so caught up in our circumstances that we forget these things, and they're hugely important. And I need to have everyone remind themselves of this, because I do it for myself all the time, and it makes all the difference. So I've gone in on the balloons now just with a white marker, and I've gone in and I've written, I am worthy, I am, and I'm continuing writing courageous. Hope to God my spelling is accurate here. If not, I will go back and fix it. I am courageous, and I am strong. I want that in there for lots of reasons, because I think it's so easy in our pain, in our times of really, really down, maybe even depressed. I have manic depression and bipolar disorder. It's really hard to stay on top of it. But you know, we have to have these reminders. We are strong. We are courageous. We are able to do things. We just have to not be so overwhelmed. We just got to take that step back. And I'm hopeful that when you see this and you see how easy it was to come together, the background drop in, the character drop in, going over the lines, very simply, the balloons, doing the outlining there, the little strings down, and then the words. Look how simple this was. This was a piece of cardboard not that much long ago. And now look at it. It's a beautiful piece of artwork that you can stand somewhere. You could even cut off this outside edge and you could frame it. And it's just a nice little reminder of what we need to remember for ourselves. it's really important for us to be able to remember these exact statements, these exact words. So I'm very glad that you guys were here with me today. The last thing, and one of the most important things always, is whatever artwork you do, whatever time and effort you've put into something, make it your own. Absolutely make it your own. So the very last step is, I'm going to sign my artwork. You can print it, you can write it, but always, always claim it. It is yours. You've created this. You might not have known or thought that you had a creative bone in your body, and you don't necessarily need to, but you can certainly learn how. I'm glad that you guys were with me today. I hope you enjoyed this session. I'll be bringing more different mediums to each session as we go, and I'll try to get better with filming. It's one of my first few times through, so I hope you bared with me and see the finished product, and I hope you were able to have that sense of play and that sense of fun as we went. And I hope you had at least a few minutes of this time away from your pain. Thanks for being with me. Bye.
Yeah, that was amazing. Thank you. And for one of your first times filming, that was phenomenal. How amazing it was to watch you do your art therapy. And I was just enthralled. I had some supplies, but I couldn't stop watching you. And when you put the messages, I am worthy, I am courageous, I am strong, like that was just sucker punch. So amazing, Dayna. Thank you for sharing. Something that stood out for me is you commenting on just separation and isolation and how chronic pain can bring on those feelings, and looking for that connectiveness and finding that connection in your art therapy. I'm wondering if you could just speak a bit more to this. And I heard you say words like playfulness, and any thoughts that you wanted to share with our group around that?
Absolutely, for sure. There are the isolation for me. When I first got my diagnosis, I had, unfortunately, a systematic falling apart in my life, not only from the diagnosis itself, but from support services and just a whole pile of things that kind of fell off to the wayside for me. And I really struggled. And art therapy for me was my go-to. It was my saving grace. And so the isolation for me, it really pulled me back and connected me and grounded me, the art therapy. And I was able to do it with people in my community, and I was able to get people that I knew that were in pain as well involved with me, and knowing that this was something that they could do. It brought such light and fun and that playfulness back to their, but it also removed them from their pain, even for those short periods of time. And it was so helpful. You could see the light back in their eyes as they were doing it. And that was what I was finding for myself. And that's what I'm hoping to bring to everyone out there, is that ability to reach for that light and say, you know what, my pain is not winning today. I am going to get through this. And this is a great method to be able to do that with. It really, really is.
Ooh, there's that resilience shining through, Dayna. I see some of our participants might be engaging in some art therapy as well. And a comment from Dayna about never thought of this as a way to manage my pain. Definitely going to be doing this over the winter months, long, cold winter. And Dayna, this is a perfect segue to my question for you, because I'm going to assume that some of us might not be artists. Well, how do we start? Where do we start? And your collection was phenomenal. I saw Susan's comment. I was amazed. So where do we start? How do we, how would you suggest for folks that might want to do this?
You know, it's funny that this is the best way that I can describe it. You go around your place and you shop your home. First, shop your home before anywhere else. In your home, you will find things like crayons or pencil crayons, or, you know, I've painted entire portraits with tea and coffee. Just literally those stains on a page can make all the difference. I've used things literally like vegetable juice as like the paint on pages. I've really literally shot my home for it. I've used crayons. I've used Bic pens. If you can get even just a set of colorful pens, you can do amazing artwork just with pens. Just get basic paper. You can even use typewriter paper, because that's, again, something that's usually on hand in everybody's home. And you can literally just sit down with that, doodle, sketch. Anytime you feel any anxiousness or stress or pain, pull something out, write a little blurb with it, draw, a balloon around it, like of a talking balloon from whatever character, just anything to engage that part of your mind and pull yourself literally out of your state of pain. It is miraculous how much of a difference this makes. It really does. Always shop your home first, because it's so cheap to do it that way. There's so many things that we don't think are available. And honestly, I had everything in my studio that took me 12 years to build up. It's taken a long time to get all my supplies. So where you start, basics. You can take magazines and cut them up and use it as if you're doing a mosaic on a page. Glue stick, a little bit of magazine cut up, and a paper, and you're set. It's as simple as that. Find simple supplies, start there, especially if you are not a natural born artist. You can still be artistic. It doesn't have to be I got this gift because I was born with it thing. Anyone can learn. Absolutely anyone can learn.
Yeah, lots of comments. Everyone thinks this is a cool idea. Love the idea of shopping your home. I really like Jackie's comment about just the relaxation of watching you do your art. There was something very therapeutic about that too. So lots of interest in this. And Celine did mention that our recording is being shared. I had one more question for you too, Dayna, and you have to forgive me. I'm a pharmacist, and so we like to be very prescriptive. Tell me about when you do your art therapy. Like, do you have a certain routine? Do you do it daily? Is it here and there? Is it when your pain is bad? How do you incorporate it into your day?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you for asking that. It used to be only when my pain was at its really, really worst. And then I started thinking about it, and I thought, you know what, that whole thing that someone mentioned earlier, and in fact, I think it was you, the preventative aspect. Instead of waiting for your pain to get so wildly out of control, take control of it yourself and focus your energy on something that's going to make you happy and excited about life, and that enjoyment and that playfulness. You can do that ahead of time. You don't have to wait for your pain to strike. You can definitely do that whenever. And so my current practice is literally any single time I feel anxious, anytime I feel stressed, anytime I feel overwhelmed, anytime I feel pain, I grab anything I can find. And like I said, even down to a big pen, and I will sketch, I will tear paper, I will glue, I will paint, I will knock over a coffee cup and use the grounds, whatever I can do to be able to get that engaged and playfulness happening. And so all day, every day, any chance I get basically is the way. And for me, my studio practice is I get in there. I don't know how I sound as a singer because I have hearing loss, but I like to belt out songs. So I sing the whole time. It brings such an air of lightness and fun to it as well. So in my studio, if anybody was to watch me, not on film, I would be belting out a song, not paying attention to how much of a mess I make, and just paint goes everywhere. It's so much fun. It's so much fun. It's just pure joy.
And play. I love it. Love it, Dayna. Thank you so much for sharing. Once again, I could chat with you all day, and I hope you'll be back. I'd love to see some more of your artwork. You're amazing. Thank you. Thank you. And I'm sad to say, but this brings a conclusion to our webinar this evening. Once again, a big thank you to Susan and to Dayna for sharing your expertise and your experience and your insight with us tonight. A big thank you to each and every one of you for participating. So thankful to have you all with us this evening. I hope you'll join us again. Please bring family, bring friends, invite others to come and join us in this webinar, invite them to come register. We'd love to have them. Once again, a big thank you to our sponsor, Creekside Acres. Thanks, Creekside, for supporting us this evening as well. Our next webinar is scheduled for Wednesday, October the 6th at 2 p.m. So an afternoon session. We're going to alternate afternoons and evenings, hopefully to be able to catch as many folks as possible. And our theme for that webinar is relaxation. So our education session and our activity are going to focus on how relaxation fits into chronic pain management. I don't know about you, but the perfect thing for me to do at 2 p.m. in the afternoon is relaxation. So I'm looking forward to this one. Like I said, please share this information about the webinar with your family and friends and social circles. With that, like I said, looking forward to seeing you all in a couple of weeks' time for our next session. Thanks for coming and have a wonderful evening. Take care.